Check. How's it going today, Joe? Let me know when you're ready. Awesome. Any better, Karen? We hadn't started yet, so I still had the mic on mute. I'll shoot you a quick text. Good evening, everybody. I might need a gavel. Dave, I might yet need a gavel. We'll have to wait and see how this goes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being able to join us tonight, and everyone that's online.
WA0LMH of $20, and that has gone now into the account. So our account is savings, $2,389. Springbrook is $843, and our main checking account is $4,778. I have some dues tonight I received. Put that in, that'll be another $35. So.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and invite Dave Trost up real quick. He wanted to speak to us about Field Day.
field day, only to the point to get a list of get the people who might consider being involved. And at this point, it's way too early for a lot of you to really define you can be there, do this or do that. What I'm trying to do is get the list of people who can no way work. I can eliminate them, and then I can start sending the remaining email out to everybody else to come up with when you might want to do, what you might want to do. So really the two things I'm looking for right now is a list of those who might be able to participate, and if they do, what they're willing to do. That's primarily all I'm looking for at this point. You've all got that letter from me. You've all got my email. If you don't, let me know, and I'll get it to you and go from there.
Regular speaker.
So real quick before we get into our presentation, wanted to do a quick go around and kind of introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Joe Manis. I'm the club president. Joe Fayen, we'll go over to you next. He's also our webmaster and tech go-to guy.
Yeah, do you have a name? Joe.
Another Joe.
Yep. Fill in the room with Joe's.
I'm Dorothy, K9GRD.
Dan, KD9ICK.
Bill, KC0MOQ.
Steve, Kilo Alpha Zero Tango Lima Zulu.
Sal.
Larry, KD9IPL. Lauren, K9IBT.
Greg, KD9JTD. K0PLX, Richard.
Mike, G9B.
Mark, M0LUE.
David, NONLG.
Gilbert, KD0PB.
Ed, W0OIC.
Colin, W9UBK, Valley Clock.
K0P, K0 Mike. Bob, WB0WSE.
You sure that's your call sign, Gary?
Dave, W0RBR. Pat, KD0RBF. Robert, K0RMS.
Ralph, WA2.
All right, and I'm sorry I forgot to say myself. Oh, missed one hiding in the hat.
Kelly, KD0.
Sorry, my call sign is KF0JKI.
KD9HA.
All right. Mr. Fred, K0 Mike is our presenter tonight. If you could please, sir. Oh. And then online, I'm guessing we have Karen and Sheila. Joe, do we have anyone else other than Karen and Sheila? Okay, so.
Well, I'm watching the live stream. I can see him in the chat. So I'm okay.
Oh, okay, you got it. Good.
So I was lucky to get Fred to come and talk to us. Fred goes way back in amateur radio. He's done a lot of things. He'll explain. He's been a contester. He's built some super antennas. He's made some major contributions to the club. He's usually on some of the nets, but we don't get him here at the meeting. But I'm really happy to have him tonight. So give him a warm welcome, applause, welcome, whatever.
Okay, well, thank you for the welcoming applause. We hope at the end we might have something like that too. We'll see. This is my first club meeting that I've come to, ever, since I come back to. So I'm glad to be able to make some attachments from face to call signs that I've been able to see on the radio. So that's very good. Now I got to get my notes because I don't speak very well off the cuff. Colin, like I say, twisted my arm a little bit here and got me to come to the meeting. Yeah. Okay. Difficult for me to talk off the cuff. I usually, if I give any kind of a talk, it's a prepared talk, and really this type of material isn't very conducive to prepared talks. So what I want to try to do is to at least give myself some notes here that things I would like to talk about. Most of my work in ham radio has been on CW, so to talk is something you do with a microphone, I believe. And there have been years, actually, I would say decades, when I have never used a microphone throughout my career. I first got my exposure to ham radio when I was 15 years old in high school, and the first boy in our class to get his driver's license and access to a car said, "We're going to go down to the Bob and Jack's store for hams in Des Moines and get our ham radio license." And I said, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea." I didn't have any idea what it was, but it was a night out with the boys, you know. So that's what we did. And I was one of about 5, I think, out of that carload that got a license, and probably the only one that really continued it afterwards. That was in 1956 that happened, winter of '56. And there were 2 radio stores in Dubuque. One of them was the Bob and Jack store for hams, and the other one was Radio Trade Supply. And at Radio Trade Supply, there was a fellow, the salesman in there. Everybody called him Uncle Vince, and I found out why. He was kind of the Elmer of the town there. He had 3 occupations. One was the running the store during the day, and the other was at night. He was the equipment maintenance guy for the police radio system in the Des Moines Police Department. And then his 3rd occupation was ham radio, which he was very, very active in. He was on the DXCC honor roll. He had, I think, 325 countries confirmed. And he was running a Collins not an S line, but the old 75A4 KWS1 ham radio kilowatt station. He also operated an awful lot of CW as well, but he was basically a DXer, as his DX numbers would imply. As a result of that, he kind of fostered me. Every time I had a chance, I went down to the police station at night when he worked down there, and when he wasn't working on radios, he was up in a little room up in the top of the police station where he had his station set up. He had a Telex or Telerex beam up there, a 3-element 20-meter beam, which is pretty much all he really used to speak of, and ran that kilowatt of power. So we would sit up there and scan the bands, looking for stations that he needed. As you all know, if you get up to 300 countries, it's pretty hard to find a new country. And you almost have to wait for them to come onto the air because there's nobody living there. Some of the places just didn't have hams. So that's why I got into DXing and why I got into contesting a little bit. I did most of that when I was in high school. During my college years, I had just an occasional contest because, of course, I was a little bit busy with other things. I also got married my first year of college, so we lived in the married student housing at Iowa State, and they didn't have any room for an antenna there, so I left the equipment in Des Moines and would go home on weekends sometimes and do a little bit of contest work or something. I graduated from college in 1964 after 5 grueling years, and moved to joined Interstate Power Company here in Dubuque. And after a couple of years, they moved me to Clinton. I worked as an auditor, the district auditor down there, which was kind of like an office manager, doing the customer billing and meter reading, supervision, and take care of the materials storeroom. I didn't do it. I just supervised it. They had trouble finding out what I did. My boss always asked me, what do you do, Fred? Yeah. So I kind of kept that a secret. One thing I recall is I was also in charge of the heating controls for the new electrically heated building we had down there in 1972. And the office girls liked to run the temperature up a little bit higher than I usually liked it. And then somebody else didn't like it either, and they turned it way down, so it went from bottom to the top to the bottom to the top. So I finally just disabled the thermostat entirely, and we ran off another one they didn't know about. Then it worked out pretty good. So let's see, in 1964, I moved to Clinton in 1966 after a couple of years here in Dubuque. I bought a house out on above Banworth and Eudhoven, and I had an old story-and-a-half house there with. I was going to put up an antenna, but I moved in January 30th of 1965, and that day it was 30 degrees below zero, and that's when I moved from the Eagle Point Apartments into that house. So that was quite an experience. I'm glad it was over, and had a couple of guys helping me do it. So fortunately, we didn't have that much to move, so it worked out pretty well. But I only lived in that house for about 4 months, and then they moved me to Clinton. So there you go. When I got to Clinton, I lived in town, and I was able to get a 60-foot tower up and a 20-meter antenna on top of that. And I continued mostly DXing at that point and some contesting. I also was able to teach a number of ham radio classes while I was down there. I was down there from 64 till about 1980 when I came back to Dubuque. But during that period of time, I must have had, I don't know, a dozen classes with anywhere from 20 to 30 people in them. And made a lot of hams down there, helped them get their license. And they've got a pretty thriving club going still, I think, as a result of that now. There was almost nobody there when I first started. Let's see, what else? I changed my call sign. Originally, it was issued as when I was a novice, where it was KN0GXR. That's Golf X-Ray Romeo. And then I moved to the K0 Mike Mike in 1977. But if you've ever been in a pileup looking for DX, you just don't say MM. That's a it doesn't come through very well. And so I've always been, because I've been contesting, most of my operating career or use of ham radio has been contest and DXing. I almost needed to use a phonetics all the time in my call sign. So if you wonder why I'm the only Mike on the air, Gary was talking about the other day, that's why. It's just a thing that I've always used. So I can't hardly say it the other way either. Okay, let's see. So I got my call sign changed, and I changed it for the reason that I just mentioned. The phonetics, Mike is a very loud phonetic. It cuts through the QRM very, very well, better than a lot. And also on CW, of course, it's all DAs, no dits in there to mess things up. So it's loud. It's a loud call sign, and it cuts through the interference. So that's why I picked that particular one. Contesting was pretty much that pretty much ended in late 1979 when I started taking down antennas and moved to Dubuque in January of 1980. And I got a 90-foot tower up in that next summer, and a 20-meter beam on top of that, and a 15-meter 3-element up on top of that, and a dipole or two on 40 and 80 meters, and that was kind of the extent of my antennas here in Dubuque. But I was so busy, I didn't have time to use them. So I was in charge of installing a computer system for the power company. The company was running on IBM punch cards in 1980, which we must have been one of the last companies to do it because IBM didn't even support them at that point. And we had a local technician who came in on his own to maintain our equipment. So that's how much on the edge we were of being able to even bill. And our general ledger was also on the punch card system as well. So the card reader into the computer was an extremely important piece of equipment that could just barely be maintained. And so that was my job, was to get those systems moved off of those punch cards and onto online systems, which was my project for about the next 3 years. And that was like a 70-hour a week job, so I didn't do that much in the way of ham radio then. So that was a quick bio of me and my history as far as ham radio is concerned. You know, the beauty of ham radio is that there's so many facets of it. There's so many different things that you can do. I know many of you don't do any contesting at all, and you don't like it, you know. And I can respect that. I can understand why. And there's some parts of it I either can't do or don't want to do. Like most of us, we pick and choose those things that interest us and who we're good at. Some of the technical projects, you know, we do have design projects. We design antennas and we design all these gadgets that do all sorts of things. I had one gadget I tried to put together down in Des Moines, or not Des Moines, in Clinton when I was working on the beginnings of my computer years, which started in about 1978. I put together my own computer from a kit. It had 4,000 solder connections to put it together, and a whopping 40K of memory. And it ran at 2 gigahertz speed, really fast. That was double, because I think it was really designed for 1, but we stepped it up to 2 megahertz maybe. Yeah, megahertz, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, that's a far back. It's another world altogether. But it was a huge box. It weighed about 80 pounds, rack-mounted thing. And, the brand name was Chromemco. I don't think anybody ever heard of that. It was they used an operating system called Chromix, which is similar to Unix. And but they actually had a system in there where I learned to program with it, just the basic language. And so I was programming the things for the company for budgeting, which was part of my responsibilities for that district. And when I got when I presented the budget in computer form, they were amazed, and so that's why they decided to promote me to this project to move the billing and the accounts receivable, or the billing, or the accounting system at Interstate Power to the online system. So I kind of worked my way into my better job then by through ham radio, actually, because it was ham radio that got me into computers. I wanted something for contesting that would automatically log the contacts that I made and would send CW and receive CW. Yeah, so I had to do that, but I didn't have any program to do it. I didn't have a compiler. So I had to hand compile that stuff 1 byte at a time. And believe me, that was really a lot of work. You didn't know what you do. If you made a mistake, you just go out to Never Never Land, and so you had to put little things in there saying, you know, I've been here in the program. So it would display on the screen. The program at least got that far. So that was fun. That's where I got my beginnings in computers. Let's see. So anyway, those are gadgets. Oh, one of the gadgets that I was going to make was something to count people in and out of a room. So it turned the lights on and off, because they had kids, you know, so like to leave lights on all the time. So I was going to have a little photo eye that would pick up as they came in the door and count them in and count them back out, and then the lights would go out. Well, that worked pretty good, but one of the things I found when I was trying to test that particular system was that when the counter just gave me random results. I couldn't figure out why. I'd expose the thing, you know, with my hand covering up the photo eye, and they'd count 12 one time and 6 another and 4 one time. And well, I found out what it was finally. I was working under a fluorescent light, and that was giving me 60 flickers a second. So it was no wonder I ended up with that result. So anyway, I wasn't very good at making stuff like that. Ralph is way above me on stuff for gadgets. He's a good gadget guy. Testing, operating equipment, that's what we like to do. You know, all kinds of stuff. Most of the stuff I did because I needed it for contesting or DXing. Rag chewing, that's another area. Anybody rag chew here? Almost everybody, I'll bet. 2 meters is famous for egg chewing, right? And well, I've never was on 2 meters until I got to Dubuque. Like I say, I'd go a decade at a time without even touching a microphone, so I didn't do much egg chewing. Satellite, that's something. Jerry's not here tonight, is he? I didn't see him. SAT, he's our satellite guy, I guess. And there's special events we can operate in, of course, crop walk, dike building. How many people remember dike building? You guys with some whiskers, I'm sure, know about the dike back in 1965 when I was here for that, for part of that anyway. Then I went to Clinton and we had another flood. We had the same repeat thing down there. But that's another area of special interest. Some people work on emergency preparedness. See, I think we had a program on solar generators that MPE gave us. Weather nets, weather spotters. A lot of us are trained in weather spotting. So there's just a whole long laundry list of facets of amateur radio that can tickle anybody's fancy of some sort. That's one of the beauties, I think, of ham radio is it is so diversified. One of the areas is operating field day events. We're getting ready with that. Dave's working on that for us. And then there's emergency preparedness. We have emergency weather nets. Other things we can do in operating. Parks on the air. Colin's out there doing parks on there. So there's somebody else too, isn't there? That does parks on the air a lot. Can't remember who it was. NG9B. Okay, good. Right. All right. That's kind of like contesting in a way, because you're sitting there making hundreds of contacts an hour, and that's what I like to do. So I really ought to get out there and do something like that, except it requires a microphone to do it. And can you use CW? Oh, well, I'll look into that.
For guys that do FTA, which is not ham radio.
All right. Okay. So anyway, as a result of operating, you get, this is the part that I don't like to do very well, because I feel like I'm kind of boasting or something, which I don't mean to do. But as a result of operating, I won quite a few contests. And I thought maybe I would go over those a little bit, just to give you a flavor of what's there and what I've been able to do. Let's see here. There we go. Uh-oh. I have a problem. I have a server at home, and my server has the file on it. I didn't bring it with me. Oh, no. Okay, well, I guess I won't do that. That was going to be the rest of it. I had some scans I made of some certificates. Worked all states. Everybody goes for a Works All State award. And mine took about a year to get from when I had my novice. Yes.
Is it on QRZ or?
No, I would, let's see. I might be able to get it on UltraViewer if I had internet contact here, but I don't have that, I don't think. Okay, these are just pictures of certificates, so it's nothing too exciting. Worked all states, I had that in about a year, and worked all continents, that was also in about a year. Worked all zones, that's a more difficult award. There's 40 zones in the world, according to CQ magazine. They have a thing, and that one took me about 4 years to get that one. Some of them are pretty difficult because they're started hams. So like Zone 23, as I recall, There was only one country that was in Zone 23 at the time, and that was Mongolia. So it was a hard zone to get. That took me about 4 years to get that. And DXCC, I had DXCC in about 4 years. By the time I quit operating contest work pretty much in 1979, and DXing as well. So I haven't got any updates on DXCC since 1979. And at that point I had 270 countries confirmed. So that really kept me busy working on that stuff. One of the things besides the operating part of it, the field day and sweepstakes and DX contests, QSO parties. One thing it took is a lot of stamina. Some of these DX contests, like the ARRL DX contest, is a 48-hour contest. And I operated 40 or 48 hours once. And boy, I was pretty well shot after that. And I think I had about 3,000 contacts in 124 countries in that contest. So it was very fruitful. One thing I found was it was interesting to, especially in stateside contests like sweepstakes, I found that with my antenna as high as it is, it was 90 feet or 80 feet in Clinton actually, and the antenna there. Because I could get them off the back of the antenna really well. And they could hear me off the back of my antenna. So actually I ran my antenna backwards from what you would normally expect during a contest, because it just worked out better. I had a better signal, they had a better signal. And I was able to make more contacts as a result. Speed, I was up to 40, 45 words a minute maybe on a contest situation, but that didn't work very well because most people don't do that. And if you want a lot of contacts, you have to slow it down. So 20, 25 words a minute is about max on a contest. So some people think that the high speed will do you a lot of good, but really it doesn't. One of the, I believe W4KFC was a fellow that was wired differently than most of us. This person could run a receiver into each ear and copy 2 sets of code, CW, at the same time. And he had a key in each hand, and he could send 2 different things at the same time. So he might receive in one ear and send with the other hand for the other ear, you know. And they had to make a special rule for sweepstakes saying that single operator meant single transmitter. Because this guy would run 2 transmitters simultaneously. He was fantastic. He won everything he entered. I entered, I believe, in Iowa between well, actually I had a few contest wins back in for Iowa back in 1960s before I went to college. Early 60s while I was in college, and then most of them were in the 70s when I moved to Clinton. But I have had 8 CW wins for the state of Iowa, and 5 for the division, which is Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska. So I have 5 certificates on that on CW. Then on phone, I won 3 phone contests on sweepstakes. I just wanted to try it out, and it worked pretty well. Like getting worked all states in one contest was often the case with those. When you run almost 1,000 contacts, you pretty well get almost everybody. Let's see. I've already talked about the importance of using the phonetic alphabet in the contest. Antenna design. Well, I didn't do too much in the way of designing antennas. I had a 2-element 40-meter beam on an 80-foot tower down in San Diego. A 15-meter 3-element 50-meter antenna above above. And that was probably the best 15-meter antenna I ever had. Because it was harmonically related to the 40-meter antenna. It was a back array of some sort, but I was really able to about it. That was by accident. And then I did have another antenna that I designed. Wavelength around. Inside. And that's and then the other one I was starting with was enough to make it. But I had a bit of relay. Oh, okay. I hope this is better. Okay, good. All right. QSK, yeah, QSK. That so it's break-in operation. So I use that for an awful lot of the DXing and contesting as well. So one of the things I liked about the S-Line was it's actually a separate transmitter and receiver. And I could hear the other station, and I could place my signal very appropriately to theirs. I believe on the current day equipment, a lot of times you can't really hear where your signal really is in relation to them. But I could come exactly 0 beat with them, or I could be off a couple hundred cycles, or I could tell where it's like a clear spot is. It might be just a tiny bit away from their transmit frequency. And so by having two different ways of hearing, I could hear myself then of where I was at. So when I started transmitting, I could hear exactly where I am, just like I was listening from his receiver. So that I had that for my equipment. For the Keyer D104 microphone, which it's almost brand new. I still have it. But I have it. So another question, Colin.
I seem to heard that you once tuned up a bed spring.
I tuned up the plumbing in the Eagle Point Apartments.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I went down the basement and I tapped onto the plumbing and found a resonant point on the plumbing, and I talked to South Africa on it, 40 meters. I don't know what happened. I don't know how many RF burns there were throughout the apartment there, but I was running low power then. I only had a little Viking Ranger, I think, at that time. About 175 watts or something. So yeah, and of course the usual gutters. I've tried those once in a while too.
I just wanted to acknowledge that you let us use your call sign on field day from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And to verify it worked pretty well. And you know, here's your own mic, and there'll be a pile up, and I think I heard mic in there somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's loud. Yeah.
And how many stations are down in Antarctica?
No, well, not just military stations for the most part. Oh yeah, that's Zone 12, I believe, of the world, and yeah, that's a hard one to get to sometimes, but sometimes not. Ed?
I tried to get Fred to get on QRP, but he says only if it'll go 4 kW.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've never run low power. I've always, that's something different about me too, because I want to be heard. I want to win. So I'm a fierce competitor. I just can't help it. That's my nature, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, when I was in high school, and that was back in the early 60s, some of the hams, I wasn't a ham back then, you know, they wanted to get into the Brass Founders Association. Does that still exist?
I don't know. I know that it was a certificate you could get.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was big back in the 50s, but I haven't heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard about it lately, but I haven't heard a lot of things lately. So,
I was just curious.
yeah, I really don't know. I don't know about even what a DXCC certificate looks like anymore, because the last update I had in mine was about 1979 or something, and I know it's probably changed in appearance quite a bit since then, too.
You still have your keys?
I have my keyer, yeah, and I have one straight key, yeah,
What do you use for keys?
a homemade one, home built, yeah.
Is it iambic or is it like
Yeah. Well, I guess iambic, because that goes sideways. Yeah. Not.
not like the Cooney spring loaded one?
No. Well, I guess not. I don't know. It's not like a bug, you know, where they had the wobbler out there. It was perfect. It was perfect CW. Yeah.
So the Collins, is that one that sounds like a chicken when you're sending it? Or have you ever heard that? It's that weird sounding CW. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I don't think I've heard that one. That sounds like a Russian station to me.
It's not as UX. It sounds like a chicken.
Yeah. Well, that one I don't know. Okay. Start off as a novice. KN0GXR. Yeah. I spent the first 9 months as a novice, and then got my general. And about it was before I moved, late 60s, I upgraded to an extra class. I needed that because that gave me some more frequencies I could go to for DXing. A lot of times the DX would hide down there because they reduce the size of their pileup. So, anything else? Okay. Well, anyway, we all have different interests. This is my interest, and I'm glad you all have your interests. We aren't all doing the same thing. I don't have as much competition because nobody's contesting. That's okay. It makes it easier. So I thank you for listening, and I guess that's about all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Fred.
Okay. Thank you. I do. I'm going to run off with one.
You're just all over the place tonight.
There we go. That's the bad one.
Thank you, guys. All right. I think that's pretty much all we had for this evening. I'd like to invite y'all out to Perkins afterwards for coffee, pie, and I've got hands shooting up in the back there. 3 of them. Wow. Colin, go ahead.
On the 27th,
Thank you.
we're going to meet over at Dan's, and we're going to take down his tower, his antenna, and deal with a lot of the stuff stored there. So we'd like to get as many people over there that day as possible. We'll get the word out what time we're going to start this Saturday. So I assume it'll be after sunshine.
10 o'clock.
Is that what we decided was 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Pat's in charge, so. Did I steal your thunder? No. Oh, okay.
You're doing fine.
10 o'clock.
All right, and then we do also have a tower climber that will be available that day for sure. Mitch Bradley, KF0LQN, graciously offered to go ahead and take care of that for us. That being said, if there's anyone else that wants to climb that tower and give that man a break, feel free to come along too.
Put your head down, Ed.
I'd fall off. We had one person not show for our testing. He was going to take all 3 tests. But we did have one that did show, and he only missed 1. So we have a new technician.
Very good, very good. Kelly.
Well, there's a red Chevy out here, little Sonic, and that's my wife's car, and it's loaded with a bunch of Dan's radios. Miss that guy. It was Dan's wishes that these radios would go to people who were interested in radio. Don't make me, Pat. Some of that has already been distributed according to his wishes, and there's some stuff that hasn't. I've boxed up what I could. There's more stuff than I thought I had, so there's some 2-meter mobile units, there's some dual band mobile units, there's tuners, there's other stuff, and I've got some stuff out there already marked for folks, so I'll try and get that separated as well. But at any rate, if you're just going to take it and walk it off to some ham fest somewhere and sell it, please don't take this stuff. If you're just going to set it on a shelf and remember Dan, by all means take it. If you're going to put it into use, by all means take it. I'll be out there by that red car, and I'll look forward to your enjoying this stuff.
Thank you, Kelly. That saves me from having to do that one. Anything else for this evening? I was going to invite folks to Perkins for that, so yep. So we're going to meet over at Perkins. Anyone is welcome to join, swap stories about Dan, enjoy some pie, some coffee. Just simply to give folks a chance to do what they would like to do and not hold you all up. With that said, any other business for tonight?
I move we adjourn.
Seconded? All right. Anyone opposed? Thank you all for for your time this evening, and for those of you that are wanting to go over to Perkins, please do so. If you are willing to or wanting some of Dan's old equipment, meet Kelly out by his vehicle. Thank you all.